everybody, this is the first lesson, of this channel. We are going to start with some important material, about the opening principles, this phase of the game is very important because the next phase of the game will depend about the first one, the middle game and the end game. So have a correct opening phase is super important for all chess players, and we are going to learn some of those principles to follow. In the first part of the lesson, we are going to see some very general approach about how to develop the pieces, how to create imbalance when this phase of the game finish. Later we are going to see a model game, where one of the players follow the opening principle and was punished, for this reason, and we are going to explain in detail all the game, and not only the opening phase, also the technical phase of the game. That means when one of the players have the decisive advantage, and what were all the moves made, to be able to convert the decisive advantage into the victory without suffering unnecessary complications. So well, let's start with the first part of the lesson. So for this explanation, I select a very basic and popular opening. This is opening start with white plays e4, the pawn advance to a square, occupying the center of the board that are these four squares and controlling d5. So black's reply exactly the same, with e5 claiming the central control in the same way, occupying the center and controlling on d4. While attacking the pawn on e5, blacks defend the pawn, and now bishop c4. So with all those moves up to now, we can see that what basically both players are doing is control the center and develop the pieces, because as in the opening phase, the main goal is connect the rooks. If we want to connect the rooks, really what we have to do is push the central pawns to open diagonals for the bishop and develop the knight. In that way, the king should be able to castle and connecting the major pieces. It can be the rooks and the queen, or also moving the queen, we can connect the rooks. So both players should do this somehow. So after bishop c4, bishop c5, we can see that in this position, white is ready to castle first. In almost all the games, typically players castle to the king side because this is the easiest way to do this. Because on this flank, we have to move only two minor pieces, the kingside knight and the kingside bishop. To castle to the queen side, we have to move also the queen. For that reason, it's more atypical, the castle to that sector of the board. So here, white decide to castle, and black plays knight f6, putting pressure on the pawn. Here, white have a lot of different ways to protect the pawn. The pawn can be defended with the pawn, with the knight, with the rook. As a general rule, when we have to defend something, we would like to use the less valued pieces for defensive labor, because in that way, the more valued pieces will be ready to do more important activities. So in this case, d3 is the main move in this position. So white prepare the development of the dark square bishop. Black do something similar, d6, preparing the development of the last square bishop, and now here white plays c3. This is the first move that may look like a big strength, because this pawn advance looks a bit unnecessary, considering that the queenside knight was ready to be developed. Basically, what white is trying to do with this pawn is creating some imbalance, because the pawn is too square away of the knight on c6. We are going to see this in many occasions. This is a very standard way to control the knight, and it's a well-known geometrical pattern to follow in order to control the activity of the enemy pieces. So the idea of c3 no is only control the knight. Also, in the long term, white is going to prepare d4. Here, I would like to discuss, a more simple variant, in order to follow the opening rule from a more didactical point of view. So really, in that sense, knight c3 looks quite logical. in order to develop a new minor pieces, okay? So we are going to come back to the main line, but I would like to see this secondary line briefly, okay? So here, black can castle, okay? We can see that at the moment the position is completely symmetrical, so it is perfect balance. So now bishop d3. So with this move, white finally managed to connect the major pieces in the first round. To connect the roots, the unique thing that white have to do is move the queen. But basically, we can say that white managed to complete the opening phase and is starting the middle game right now. Okay, so let's see some sample move. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and bishop e6. This leads to more simplifications. And after queen e2, queen e7, we can see this position that we have in the board. Both players managed to connect the roots. Okay, so with these model lines, okay, what I want to conclude is that doesn't matter if we are not theoretical experts. You know, if we try to keep in mind this idea, we should be able to do good opening move, you know, without being experts in theory. Okay, so let me go back to the main line. Okay, with c3. You know, despite this move delay a big development of the pieces on the queen side, really what white wants to do with this move is create some imbalance and avoid the symmetry. Okay, but despite that, this is a very subtle delay in the development, but this is justified because in that way, white can create a more unbalanced position. And also, you know, the pawn here is very well placed to square away of the enemy. Okay, so black castle, and here knight b2. Okay, white continue the development. In this moment, seems to be like the knight here is blocking the bishop, but really at the moment, you know, this bishop can be developed maybe to the e3 square can be a possibility, but on this location can be chased by the knight. So white is a bit more patient. Also, another typical move that people like to do is the pin. So this pin is playable, but black can do the expansion without being worried, because in this case, you know, both kings are castled to the same flank. Okay, so despite the pawns are over expanded, this is an alternative for black. Okay, so let me go back. After knight b2, okay, here black plays a6. Okay, the idea of this move is be able to retreat the bishop in case the bishop can, because the bishop can be attacked by the white pieces. So bishop b3. Okay, bishop b3. White is trying to hide the bishop on c2. In some variants, black can try to do this maneuver. Okay, so this is also one of the reasons of a6. Control b5 to be able to jump with the knight to the edge of the board and avoid that the bishop comes to b5. Okay, we are going to see that in the opening phase and also on the middle game, a typical plan can be chase the enemy bishop with the knight. And really, this have a very specific explanation. Is because the value of the bishop, you know, can be considered as slightly better than the knight. So for sure, all depends about the context of the position, because in blocking position, the knight can be better, but create a complete blocking position may be very difficult. Okay, so but we are going to see these, you know, in detail in new presentations. Okay, so right now let's focus in, you know, in the opening phase. So bishop b3, white anticipate this possible maneuver with the knight chasing the bishop and is preparing regroup the bishop to c2. So rook e8. Black wants to offer the exchange of the bishop, but without wants to be able to recapture with the rook to avoid the creation of double pawns. Okay, so h3. This move prevents the pin, and also white would like to play rook e1 and knight f1. That is a thematic plan in this position, and wants to prevent the attack in this intersection point on f2. Okay, so bishop e6, rook e1 to continue with the plan with knight f1, knight g3, looking for the outputs. So bishop takes. Okay, in this case, white can recapture with the queen, with the pawn, with the knight. All the captures are possible. Okay, typically, really, we would like to recapture with the less value pieces. In this case, a recapture with the pawn may be an alternative, not only to open the file, also to have more control on the board, because the pawn in the edge of the board is controlling only one square. After the recapture with the pawn, here, the pawn will be controlling two squares. So basically, after the recapture, the rook have more scope, and also the pawn is controlling more squares. Okay, so this is an interesting way here. For the model game, I select the option to capture with the knight, but this recapture comes with a threat because white is ready to exchange a less value pieces for a more value one. Typically when we exchange a minor pieces for the rook, we say that we are winning the exchange. But when we exchange the knight for the bishop, we can say that we can win the minor exchange. Okay, so in almost all the case, this kind of exchange is considered as a favorable exchange. Okay, for that reason, black retrieve the bishop as far as possible, used to be the best for the bishop. Remember, bishops are snipers. They are active from very long distance. Okay, so now bishop e3. Okay, why offer the exchange again? And here, we can notice how both players manage to connect the major pieces. Okay, this position is very balanced because basically completely symmetrical. I will say that white have a more flexible situation due to the location of the pawn on c3, controlling the knight jumps in the center of the board. Okay, but in this chapter, basically what we saw is the correct way to proceed to develop the pieces respecting the opening rules. Trying to castle as soon as possible and connect the rooks. If we follow these rules, okay, in general lines, we should be able to play a good opening phase without major complications. Okay, so this is a introductory video. Okay, to explain this general principle that develop the pieces, control the center, castle quickly, and connect the roots. Okay, so in the second chapter, okay, of this lesson, we are going to see a model game played between two very powerful grandmasters. Okay, one of them was a ex-world champion Bobby Fischer against Samuel Reshevsky. Okay, those players were American players. Okay, very strong, and they have a well-known competition between them. Because they used to play a lot in the championship to become, in the American champion. Okay, so let's go to see the game. Okay, where Robert James Fisher managed to defeat Samuel Reshevsky because Samuel played a very ambitious move in the opening, trying to create imbalance, but on following the opening principles. Okay, so we are going to see the consequence about don't respect the principles. Okay, but with a first class game. Okay, playing between these two guys. Okay, about a bit of history about these two players. Robert James Fisher was ex-world champion, but he have a very gradual and slow improvement in chess. Really, during his childhood, he was so good. Only at the age of between 12 or 13 years old, where his chess start to be exceptional. Okay, in comparison, Samuel Reshevsky was a genius child. He learned to play chess, from 5 years old, more or less, and he born in Poland and traveled to United States with his family for sure, and they were living there, using the talent of Samuel Reshevsky, for chess exhibition and everything. There is also some very popular pictures about Samuel, a very small Samuel playing with a lot of men, as a simultaneous game. So, comparing Fischer with Samuel, Fischer was a sectional player, but mostly, as his teenage age. Okay, but Samuel have a very quickly improvement, from his childhood. Okay, so well, let's start with the game. So e4, c5. Okay, this is the Sicilian defense. Bobby developed the kingside knight, okay, to prepare the advance of the central pawn. So knight c6, and here we have d4. This way to play is known as the open system. Okay, in the Sicilian defense, typically to play the open system, we have to be very well prepared because basically Vlad can select between a lot of different kind of Sicilian defense. Okay, so Samuel recapture in the center, Fischer recapture, and now G6. Okay, so right now we can see that black at the moment no is controlling the center of the board with pawns, but really this move is preparing bishop G7 to 5 for the control of one of the central squares. You know, black wants to be strong. Okay, black wants to be strong on the D4 square. Okay, so bishop E3, white anticipate the pressure and start to reinforce the square on D4. Move, attacking the pawn on E4, knight C3, defending the pawn, and here bishop G7. Okay, another developed move, preparing the castle. Bobby developed the bishop, and now short castle. And here we have this move, bishop B3. Okay, bishop B3 is a move to avoid half the bishop hanging, because, and also to have the minor pieces being supported by pawns from behind. This is also a well-known rule. You know, remember, pieces hanging create tactical motive. Okay, so in general lines, it's very important. Okay, don't give to the opponent tactical motive. Okay, here after the castle, black in some lines is threatening knight takes on E4, and after knight takes, followed by D5 with a 4. So for that reason, basically, Bobby retreat the bishop to avoid some tactical tricks in the center in relation with a potential 4 with D5. Okay, and now this is a critical moment of the game. To continue the development, okay, and also controlling the center, a quite natural move that transposed into a main variant of the Dragon Sicilian will be D6, okay, in order to open the diagonal for the lion square bishop, probably to, you know, to develop the bishop on D7, to square away of the knight, control the knight jumps, and at the same time, connecting the rooks. So this will be the expected move. So here, right now, Samuel will follow the opening principles, moving the same pieces twice in the opening and delaying the development of the last square bishop. So he made this move. This move looks very strange, but at the same time have a very clear purpose. What Samuel wants to do with this move is exchange the knight for the bishop. Remember, the value of the knight is 3 points and the value of the bishop is 3.5. So winning the bishop pair, eventually Samuel can create a long-term advantage. But this move have a trouble. That is delay the development, and right now Bobby managed to punish, okay, this careless move in a very exceptional way. Okay, right now the best move for white, and typically the best move in any position, is in relation or connected somehow with the last move of the opponent, with what the opponent leave without protection with his last move. Okay, for example, in this case, the knight jumps to the edge of the board and is losing some central control. So basically, black is losing pressure on D4 and also is losing the control of the E5 square. Typically, if the pawn can advance, bothering the location of the knight to misplace the knight, that is something good to do. And Bobby went for that, you know, pushing the pawn to E5. This is a very active move and the best move in the position. You know, maybe some viewers can be thinking, okay, but Bobby is also delaying the development, pushing the pawn without castle, okay? But this is justified because Bobby is fighting for the initiative, also without creating a threat, attacking a more value pieces with a less value one, and winning a tempo. So here, black have to do something with the knight because, okay, in the game, Samuel play knight e8, okay? But another alternative would be capture on b3, but after the capture of the knight, capture of the rook, capture of the bishop, he takes and queen takes, the balance here will be 2 minor pieces for the rook, okay? So this is a very good position for white, where white have a clear material advantage, okay? So let's go back to the critical moment of the game. So in the moment when Bobby play e5, okay, Samuel have to do something with the knight. So he retreat the knight to e8, okay? And now we have a brilliant move and also an exceptional way. Initiative, we have 3 different ways to do that: with checks, with captures, or with threats. Okay, threats typically means attack more value pieces with less value. So in this position, white, the most forced move for white is check plus capture. And Bobby play this amazing move. Bishop takes on f7. This, probably was a shock for Samuel, because suddenly, the idea of the move is very clear. White wants to remove one of the defender of the e6 square, because if black capture with the rook, white can simply play knight e6, attacking the queen, and the queen is trapped because the pawn on d7 is pinned. The knight cannot be captured. Okay, so this is a fantastic tactical resource played by Bobby, punishing the delaying of the development of Samuel. Okay, so in the game, instead of capture with the rook, okay, Samuel decides to capture with the king. And after the capture with the king, Bobby did exactly the same move, knight e6, okay, trapping the queen. So basically, Bobby is winning the queen here because Samuel went for that variant. He played pawn takes, allowing the capture of the queen. Let's see and evaluate the other variant. The other alternative for black will be king takes on e6. This sacrifice, this tactical tool is known as extraction of the king. The idea, using these two pieces as a decoy, the first sacrifice on f7 and the second one on e6, in this way, white managed to attract the enemy king to the center of the board. And the material advantage doesn't matter because the pieces are important for his activity on the board. So the other alternative would be this one. King takes, queen d5 check, and the next variant that we are going to see is pretty forced, starting with a check. So king f5, and now g4, keeping the initiative. Okay, so you can see all the squares around the king are controlled. So black is forced to capture the pawn, and now white can incorporate new attackers. Okay, rook g1 check. So here, in case of, let's say, in case of king f5, rook g5 check. And in case of king to the edge of the board, for example, king to h4, white can kick the initiative in this way. Check, check, and check. Okay, so we can see the importance about develop the pieces and don't delay the development in unnecessary way. Okay, so let's see what happened in the game. Okay, Samuel understood that if he will capture the knight with the king, he's going to receive checkmate very soon. For that reason, he decides to capture the knight with the pawn, leaving the queen hanging, and for sure, Bobby captured the queen. Okay, so basically, the material balance that we have here is that white wins the queen, but as a compensation for black, black have two minor pieces. But really, black rooks are still disconnected, and this bishop is buried by the pawn structure. So despite black have some material for the queen, for sure, this no is enough material, but this material that black have also is completely uncoordinated. Okay, typically when we see popular games, okay, we see, okay, capture the queen, and everybody stop the game here saying, okay, the position is absolutely winning. But I would say that it's important to review also the technical phase of the game, because in many cases where we have decisive material advantage, sometimes we can delay the victory, okay, or we can allow unnecessary complications. So we are going to continue with the game until the end, evaluating the technical phase of the game played by both. Okay, so Samuel, okay, this knight is hanging. Okay, so Samuel retrieved the pieces, having the pieces being supported by a pawn from behind and chasing the queen. So now it's time to, once we win material advantage, a mistake is try to continue capturing more material, especially if our development no is complete yet. Okay, so a good start can be regroup to reorganize the pieces, and from this reorganization start to develop a new plan. Okay, but from a position with coordination. Okay, so we have queen d2, regrouping move, and now bishop takes on e5. Okay, here black have two different ways to capture on e5, with the bishop or with the knight. Typically, capture with the less value pieces used to be a good rule to follow. And I mean, in this position, if I will be playing with black pieces, probably I would like to capture with the knight, because in this way we can leave the sniper, okay, more cover, and also the knight here can try to look for the c4 square to try to chase the bishop, attack the queen, attacking on b2. Okay, but well, here black took with the bishop, so short castle. Finally, in move 14, white Bobby managed to complete his opening phase because the rook are connected. Okay, so knight e6. Okay, and now bishop f4. Okay, this move is aimed basically to simplify. Okay, exchanging pieces of equal value, bishop for bishop. Okay, so here Samuel playing knight c4, forking the pawn and the queen, and now we have here queen e2. This is a clever move. The bishop on f4 seems to be hanging, but the queen from this location is putting pressure on e5 and also putting pressure on c4. This way to simplify no is too common because seems to be like white is allowing a small concession, allowing the exchange of a bishop for a knight. Okay, but as the material advantage for white is too big, okay, this is a possibility. Okay, allow this in order to simplify the position as soon as possible. Okay, so takes. Now king g7. Okay, out of the fire line of the queen. Okay, and here knight e4. The location of the knight on e4 is very good because black don't have pawns beside to remove the knight from this location. Okay, also the knight is creating a space for the pawn. Probably maybe a good idea have this pawn to square away of the knight to control the knight. Okay, so bishop c7. Okay, black retrieve the bishop, probably to open the fire for the rook. So knight c5, attacking on e6, and now rook f6, defending the pawn on c3, the pawn to square away. Okay, and now e5. Okay, with this move, black is trying to liberate the last square bishop to be able to incorporate the queenside rook into the game. So now rook 81, white start to centralize the rook. We have a quote that says rook belongs to open files and semi-open file. The D file is an open file because there is no any pawns in the file, okay? And the E file will be a semi-open file for white because don't contain white pawns, okay? There is only black pawns in this file, okay? So rook 81. Now we have here a 98. Okay, a very strange move for sure. The move for black are very artificial because the position is hopeless, okay? I don't know, maybe what black wants to do is protect the pawn to be able to liberate the bishop, okay? But, the position is very sad for it. Okay, so now 97, attacking the rook. Rook c6, intermediate move, attacking the queen. And now queen h4, attacking the pawn. Okay, very important, okay? Evaluate the move in diagonal for the queen because are very easy to miss. Okay, so rook e6, protect the e7 pawn, and now knight c5, attacking the rook. So this is a thematic way to kick the initiative, creating threats, attacking more value pieces with less value. Rook f6, knight e4, now rook f4, okay, forking the queen and the knight, but white can counter here with check, okay, attacking the king and the bishop. So black blocks with the rook to protect the bishop. Queen a3, regrouping the queen like will be a bishop as far as possible. Okay, so knight c6, knight d6, and here this is a fork, so attacking the rook and the bishop. So the exchange of the knight for one of the black bishop now is unavoidable. Takes, and finally, white activate the rook, getting the invasion square in the 6. When we have the rook in the open file, the rook would like to be in some of the squares in enemy territory. The most important squares are the 7 and the background. So here, the rook is very active on the 6. Bishop f5, and now b4. Okay, about this move is a bit strange because, we can consider that the pawn now becomes in a backward pawn because it's exposed in an open file and cannot be defended by another pawn from behind. But this a strategic concession is justified because what white is trying to do is advance the pawn to dislodge the location of the knight that is supporting the central pawn. Okay, so this is justified. So sometimes in order to make progress in a position, we have to accept some concessions. Okay, so black connect the rooks. b5 is lodging the knight, knight d8, rook d5, finally attacking the unprotected pawn, knight f7, rook c5, a6, b6. This move to kick the 5 close, okay, and avoid activation. Also, the rook can get the 7 right. Bishop e4, rook e1, bishop c6, and now rook takes. Okay, here this is the idea of this move. This is a positional exchange sacrifice in order to create a passed pawn that can be very strong because will be supported by the rook from behind and also by the queen. 7 takes, so white is ready to support the pawn with the queen and the rook. The support of the pawn with the rook from behind, that is known as the Darroch rule. Very important way to support the passed pawn. Okay. So knight d8, rook b1, rook f7, black start to accumulate power over the pawn, and now h3. Okay, this is a quiet move to enable escaping a square for the king to avoid background issues in the future. So takes, and now queen a8 attacking the knight and the rook. So here, I suppose black can play rook d7 to support the knight, but like this moment, Samuel decides to resign. Probably the reason of that is because white is ready to start to push the lateral pawn. Okay, that is well supported by the queen, and the rook and the knight they cannot coordinate well to stop the pawn. Okay, so this was a model game, okay, where Bobby managed to exchange to punish the careless move in the opening by Samuel. Okay, starting with this knight a5, moving the same pieces twice in the opening, okay, and delaying the development. So remember e5, bishop takes on f7, and this is, despite this is a very old and popular game, there is a lot of games, on the database, okay, played by a lot of people falling in the same trap again and again and again, okay? So, well, this is all in this video, okay? We did a general revision about the game and also an explanation, okay, of all the move by move. So I hope you enjoy the lesson and hope to see you soon in a new video, okay? Bye.